Thank you very much, dear Friederike, for your kind introduction. Welcome all of you to this third webinar that the IMC of the University of St. Gallen and I are organizing together. I would like to take this opportunity to extend a special welcome to past and current clients of the Bridge to Luxury. Many greetings to Paris, Salzburg, Munich, London, Dubai, Zurich, and even early New York. Your loyalty, of course, is much appreciated. Today's topic is dedicated to the question of success factors in modern luxury branding. I would like to thank you all for the high number of enrollments and the interest that you have shown in tuning in today. As in previous webinars, please excuse that I have likely prepared too much material. It is important to me to provide not just superficial commonplaces in the next 45 minutes, but hopefully some insightful content. Yet in admitting also that we won't get too much into the details either. If we don't quite get through the program today, the slides, as Friederike has indicated, are designed to be self-explaining, and as always, the Institute and I are making them available to you. And of course, if you have any questions in the days to come, please feel free to reach out to me. You will find my contact details at the end of the presentation. Now, as time is short, we better get going. So please give me a minute to upload the presentation and I will be with you in a second. So I hope you can all see the first slide. Let me start with a quick overview about the luxury industry's status. As far as indexes are concerned, over the last 5 years, the average growth of the S&P 500 was around 13%, the same for the Nikkei, the Euro Stoxx 50, 8%, the Shanghai Composite, for very obvious reasons, only 1.3%, while the luxury industry measured by the S&P Luxury Index grew by an average of 11%. However, over the last 12 months, luxury has slowed down considerably, and that shows also in the results of share prices of brands listed at the stock exchange. There were super winners like Tesla, Hermes, Ferrari, and then, of course, there are losers. So if you had invested 100 Swiss francs in Aston Martin some 5 years ago, on an annual basis, you would have lost 41% of your investment. Current topics are muted Chinese economy, wars in Ukraine, Middle East, growing political crisis in Asia, elections coming up in the US, still high interest rate, weak economic growth in Europe. So as a consequence, I believe that over the next 12 months, we likely won't see a strong growth in luxury, averaging out around 1 to 3%. Now, let's start with my first hint, and it concerns the very essence of luxury, which I believe we need to respect more to take advantage of what the phenomenon, this special type of brand is able to provide to us. First of all, we need to define a clear high-end brand character, whether it is prosuming, premium, prestige, or luxury. And I will dwell on these four in a minute. Second, for luxury, we need to provide measurable product, service, and experience world records. So today I'm talking about luxury, which is not the same as prestige or premium or prosuming. So the focus is clearly luxury, and luxury is different from the other three brands I will also mention again in a few minutes. In luxury, brands have to create strong consumer identities that promise the fulfillment of a dream. Luxury brands, and that is very important in today's ESG times, are socially selective. And here we will discuss this issue as well. Now, how can we distinguish high-end brands? In my work, I'm making the difference between prosuming brands, luxury brands, prestige, and premium brands. There are two important differentiators. One is the focus on communication. How do brands actually speak with their clients, customers, consumers? And second, or first in this case, what are the products and services we as a brand are offering? And here we make the difference between brands that provide world records, the very best, in comparison to other with a relative leadership that are better than many, but do not offer these type of unique, exclusive world record products. In terms of communication, we know that there are brands that focus more on the facts and figures, while others are more emotional, psychological, address themselves more to the dreamer instead of to the expert or the nerd. So examples: prosuming, Lienhoff, A. Lange & Söhne, Richemille, Namiki fountain pens. Examples for premium could be Nomos, Longchamp, Lexus, Rolex, Louis Vuitton, Chopard for prestige brands. And luxury, as far as I understand it, brands like Ferrari, Hermes, Christie's, Steinway & Sons, and some others. And if we look at what high-end brands to some degree provide, especially if we are talking about prestige and luxury, it is identities, whereas prosuming and premium brands, again, focus on facts and figures, on pure information about the company's history, its services, its offering. So prestige brands try to provide something that goes beyond the product and the basic service itself. And that also applies for luxury, yet with products that have world record character. So Steinway & Son is a typical luxury brand offering products that, if you would like to measure it in a world record, is the brand with that is with the highest percentage represented in the major concert hall of the world. So no other piano brand. You will find more other pianos in the major concert halls than Steinway & Son. Porsche is a typical prestige brand. Yes, we may argue, no, shouldn't it be luxury? Yes, no. Well, it depends if we find enough world records that are second to none and unique to Porsche. If not, if there are others that provide more or provide world records, then Porsche is a prestige brand. Here, with a very emotional statement, rare are the times when your wife respects your mistress, speaking about a Porsche car. So here are just some examples that show that if we are in high-end branding, we've got to make a decision, which character of our brand do we want to select? Again, it can be prosuming, it can be premium, prestige, or luxury. Now that can be translated in the classical pyramid. And here, I think with this concept, you are likely more familiar. And if we stretch that to the issue of pricing, obviously luxury brands in public pricing are more expensive than premium brands or prestige brands. So our first task is, as branders in modern high-end branding, to select the brand and perhaps to make a choice in favor for luxury. Now, one example I would like to share with you. Mercedes-Benz announced in February 22 their new luxury strategy. And this campaign was not only published on Mercedes-Benz homepage, but also in the media. And it seemed to have been a major move, also promising that certain product lines would be axed, especially the entry lines, the A, C, and E class. And it all summed up by the wish of Mercedes-Benz management to reach profitability as good as Ferraris. Now, so it seems Mercedes-Benz wanted to become a stronger luxury brand. Now, let's have a look at how this has played out over the last basically 2 years. So the announcement was made in February 22. Here, what we see is the development of the share price, respectively, the market capitalization of Mercedes-Benz versus Ferrari since January 22. And what we can see is that since the announcement of Mercedes-Benz, investors, professional investors, have not really reacted positively. In January 22, the value of Ferrari was roughly half of that of Mercedes-Benz. And over the last 2 years, today, investors consider Ferrari as valuable as Mercedes-Benz. So here on the one side, we have a company producing 500,000 units a year, proclaiming to be luxury. And there we have an Italian sports car producing some 15,000 units a year, with the same evaluation. So it's sort of crazy and just sheds a light on the difficulties of, well, proclaiming to be luxury and perhaps being luxury. Now, how come? If we look at the example of Mercedes-Benz, that is the current lineup of its product from the A, B, C, E, G, S, AMG, Maybach classes. In terms of public prices, recent figures that we would find on Mercedes-Benz homepage, the price range is between 37,000 euros to, for Maybach, 182,000. That is a rather large stretch for a luxury brand. And where are the world records? Maybe there are, obviously. The eternal world record of Mercedes-Benz is the oldest car manufacturer, being founded by Benz and Daimler. But that's an old record and maybe not as relevant to today's consumers. So what are the world records in comparison to competition that Mercedes-Benz can claim to justify the title of being indeed luxury? Let's dwell deeper into details. So we have the product lineup. We have actually 8 different product lines or collections, A, B, C, E, G, S, AMG, and Maybach classes. We have 6 different types of cars. We have 3 different motor systems, combustion, hybrid, and electric. We have various motor powers, and we have a trillion of possibilities using the configurations offered by Mercedes-Benz. So we have so many options, and comparing the very essence of luxury, of world records being exclusive, while offering on the other side from the A to the Z class so many options, I am not sure whether that is really helpful. Now, as I have said, communication in high-end is important. So to be luxury or prestige, we need to provide identities. This is a recent advertising example of Mercedes-Benz in India. And it is focusing on financial issues, how to finance a Mercedes-Benz. The topic is about win the day. And my question is, where are the identities? Where are we telling our customer that he, she is rich, is powerful, is a super sports car driver? This is communication that is typically associated with premium or prosuming brands. So in comparison, again, wondering about why professional investors evaluate Ferrari as strong as Mercedes-Benz, maybe one answer is a very strategic one, a very basic one. Well, Ferrari is considered luxury, whereas there may be many questions about Maybach, AMG, and the lineup of Mercedes-Benz. There's another aspect I want to raise again in modern branding, modern luxury branding. The nature of luxury, whether we like it or not, is to create provocative social hierarchies. Consumers' purchasing hurdles create social selectivity due to a lack of income, wealth, education, social networks. This creates the fascination of luxury consumption as being perceived as an ambition for social discrimination. Let's face it. I do not belong to the underdogs. I purchase certain items, I buy certain services to tell myself, no, I actually belong to the rich and famous. And in consequence, that social provocation means our products, our services are not accessible for everyone because you don't have the money, you don't have the culture, you don't have this or that. So luxury brands need to accept that consumers may seek products for social selectivity. And I will come back to that topic later on when we speak about ESG. Obviously, many brands are hesitant about that. So proclaiming to be luxury while not accepting that maybe consumers buy our products to feel better than others is a tricky aspect that we need to answer if we proclaim to be luxury or indeed to be luxury. Now here's the example of Rolex, a prestige brand, incredibly successful. Their promise is identity in their communication. In the 60s, they were promising that if you buy a Rolex, you're a leader, or you are extraordinary in the 90s, or you are great today. So here's a statement, a social statement. If you purchase a Rolex, you will feel differently in comparison to your environment, and you will show the world that you have made it. So this is a very good example of a high-end brand, in this case prestige, focusing communication efforts on identities, which again is crucial to become either luxury or prestige. My second hint, get target grouping right. Luxury brands need a thorough and especially psychological understanding of consumers. To characterize target groups, psychological profiles are important, and these are provided nowadays by many research institutes. So the tools are available, but high-end brands and especially luxury brands need to understand with whom are we talking, and here there are concepts and tools to do that in necessary detail. In luxury, target groups demand not only unique products, but also offerings of identities. We just spoke about this. The challenge, convincing the consumer that purchasing hurdles are not too high. The modern temptation, the selection of too young target groups. And here again, after these basic hints, I would like to show you some examples and get more into the details. Now that is the luxury universe. And if we look at these various pictures, we may feel that we are talking to very different people. Young, aspirational folks, established executives ruling the waves on their own yacht, bourgeois families with a certain background, bragging off people, classical people, traditional people. So the universe of potential luxury consumers is vast. And first of all, we need to understand them. And then in our marketing efforts, we need to focus, we need to concentrate. In luxury branding, the answer to complex target grouping is not the global lowest common denominator. The answer, no, is not George Clooney if we speak about luxury brands. George Clooney is likely the perfect hero for prestige brands, but not for luxury, because in luxury, we have to deal with a very sophisticated customer who expect the very special effort. So indeed, once again, the lowest common denominator, and in today's branding efforts of many companies, taking a famous name, putting it on social media and in print ad is not the solution. Concerning the luxury consumer, yes, it's a complex person, and we in defining our target group, we've got to make sure that we understand the consequences of age, of wealth, of the desire to show off, the luxury loudness or the communication loudness, and life experience. And what we can see in general is that young people have a desire to show off more than older people, that the willingness to spend is higher, and yet the spending ability is lower. So again, target grouping is quite important, and we cannot speak to everyone at the same time. And if we make choices towards a more younger target group, then the content and the loudness, the tone of our communications got to be different, as if we are speaking to an established owner of a New York gallery, and she wants to reflect on her own sophistication. So we're talking two different type of people. And when we prepare our products and our campaigns, then we've got to have a clear picture of whom we are talking to. And as I have said, there are many tools around that can be used if you're not already doing it. And one very known approach is the one of the Zenus milieux, that is not focusing only on socio-demographics such as income and gender and then other factors, but on lifestyles, on cultural backgrounds, on values, attitudes, and these type of structures help, well, first of all, to make a choice with regard to our target group, and then in the choice of how do we want to speak to our potential customers. Now, identities is for luxury brands quite important. In my projects, I'm always insisting in telling my customers, if we communicate, we've got to provide something that after the experience with the brand, whether it is the service, the product, the event, whatever it is, that the customer needs to feel, needs to learn something about herself or himself, whatever that is, as a feeling of being powerful, as a feeling of still being young, as a feeling of being international and cultivated, of being successful, the Rolex story, of being tolerant. So if we want to be luxury, we've got to offer identities that have a psychological background and fit to the target group that we have chosen. Now, selling luxury products and services is not easy because, as I've already mentioned briefly, there are hurdles of consumption. There are functional hurdles. Can I handle the product service correctly? And buying a 20,000 photo camera is, technically speaking, something demanding, because you need to know the bits and bytes about photography. So if you buy such a product, well, there's a functional hurdle, and you need to overcome perhaps fear, saying, yes, I like Alpa cameras, but can I really use them? Am I capable enough? Second, emotional hurdles. Am I reasonable? And we've all been through this feeling. Do I really need this? I know it's a lot of money, and actually I've got already 2 cars, or I've got already a trillion of dresses, whatever it is. Do I really need this? Social hurdles. What will the neighbors say? And finally, of course, financial hurdles. Can I afford it? So when speaking, once we speak with the target group, we need to address potential hurdles and give arguments to our potential consumers, customers, that yes, they can overcome these 4 hurdles. The luxury's brand promise is overcoming hurdles will make a dream come true. So to structure that in a more detailed way, consumers have needs, dreams, fears, again, the psychological, social sphere of their personalities. And they have functional needs, and here we would provide world records in terms of basic and incremental USPs. Hopefully the customers overcome functional hurdles. They would enjoy a world record utility. Then we have personal and personality needs on an individual basis, where we enjoy a super product, enjoy a brand, enjoy experience. And we also enjoy a certain self-realization, a certain empowerment in terms of identity. So we are overcoming emotional hurdles. Now, we are not acting on our own, as the first examples have shown. We are also acting in an environment, a social environment. And here we may consume luxury products to be entertained together with others. We want to enjoy interaction and dialogue. And we want to position ourselves socially with regard to peers and to society. And here the concepts are known. We have the bandwagon consumers, or to the contrary, the snob consumer saying, I'm purchasing that because I want to be different from the others. So here as well, overcoming social hurdles. And again, identity and luxury is very, very important. And finally, we have the economy side. We have a purchasing price. We have a certain depreciation of the product over time, and perhaps a future certain resale value. Here, overcoming financial hurdles, enjoying a certain money for value utility. All that together creates consumer satisfaction in luxury. The conceptual problem, though, in strategic luxury branding is that individual consumers have individual perceptions about what luxury means. And that is important to understand, because otherwise the risk is that if every one of the consumers have a different definition of what luxury means for him or her, we would then need to speak with everyone, which we don't want, because our approach is target grouping. So in the public, luxury often is associated with being above the naturally necessary or average standard of living. Second, however, what is above the natural necessary or the average? Luxury has different meanings for different consumers. Perception may depend on different incomes, social positions, age and genders, place of living, and. We are all different, and therefore what your or my understanding as consumers about the meaning of luxury is may not be, or is likely not, the same. So companies need to distinguish between internal working definitions about the definition of what is luxury to steer their brands, and external advertising, PR, or social media messages directed to their target groups. So what does this mean? We have on the left the brander side, the side of companies with products, communication, price, and distribution. And here in luxury, we need to create world records and consumer status identities. So with measurable world records, and that is very important that these world records are measurable, we enter into some sort of absolute sphere. On the other side, we have the consumer and his or her luxury perceptions, individual dreams, needs, fears, whatsoever. And we have the hurdles that they need to overcome. So here we have a relative sphere and driven by this aspect in luxury about social selectivity, and both the offers exclusiveness driven by world records and the social selectivity aspect of luxury as being something that not everyone can afford or handle or enjoy, that creates the luxury aura. And if we want to be a luxury brand, we have to accept that this is what is happening, especially outside the world. And brands, successful brands, such as Rolex, don't mind that, well, they mind to some degree, but they're not really fighting off the notion that, well, Rolex is a watch for braggers, for achievers, for people who want to make a certain statement that is not, how should I put it, a socialist view of the world. Now, final point here, target grouping is the current modern rush to younger target groups. And I understand that luxury, as we have seen at the beginning, is under pressure and will continue to be under pressure, not only over the next 12 months, but over the next years for reasons that I'm going to discuss in a few minutes. So it makes sense to reach out to the young people who nowadays have much more money, are much more sophisticated. So yeah, that's understandable. However, again, the essence of luxury may tell us that we must not forget these women. Because these target groups, these potential consumers, as we have seen, have the money, have the brand experience. So it is a challenge in modern luxury branding to balance the age of consumers, and I believe that in the years to come, that maybe brands need to separate things so that we have offerings clearly focusing on younger consumer segments, and for those who are more sophisticated because of life experience, because of jobs, because of wealth. So the future customer will be a challenged human being. We are familiar with the concept of baby boomers, generation X, Y, and Z. Now, modern means the future. How can we describe future consumer generations? And we are already speaking about the generation Alpha, which is facing different topics than the baby boomers or the generation X or the generation Y, Z, and so on. This generation, being born after 2010, will be exposed to continuous crisis, especially with regard to the environment, but also social crisis and. So their goals in life are different from those of the past. Their consumption will also deal with the question, what can we do in life and work to find solutions for a world that is better? And in consequence, in terms of consumer behavior, we may see some people of future generations that consume less, but there's also the possibility that some of them consume more because they want to escape the grayish daily experience of life. So here is also an opportunity for luxury to reach out with a certain message to younger people. Okay, if you come with us, at least you can forget about hardship of life for some time. Now, with regard to generation Beta being born these months and in the future, we are not sure yet. Remains to be seen, but likely how should I say, the easy days of generation Z or especially Y are gone. Hint number 3, positioning and communications mirror the real life of consumers. Embed positioning in the real social life of the customer. Tell attractive and emotional stories being driven by consumer identity and dreams. Try to change the perspective of your communication. For prosuming and premium brands, it is the typical approach that we talk about us and we were founded in. This is what our product can do. This is how you need to handle the product, and. But in prestige and especially in luxury, we need to convey an attitude that is we for you. We are here. This is made for you to overcome hurdles, to realize dreams, to feel better, to feel younger, and. So in luxury, we need to change that more technical, we about us, product focus, information driven attitude towards something that is more speaking to the consumers, making sure that we are understood as a true partner of our customers. Be credible and ideally refer to a founding myth. So here again, some examples, some clarifications. This is one of the most successful positionings that we have seen in luxury over the last 20 years. And it is everything what I'm asking for. It's got everything what I'm asking for. It is emotional, it is embedded in life, it is positive, it is speaking about dreams, and we all want to be good parents. So yes, actually, we never own a Patek Philippe. We just look after it for the next generation. So this example really is one of the best of a brand that has turned a classical prosuming brand into a luxury one. Now, if you speak with your agencies, indeed, and I recall a moment when I was discussing a future campaign with somebody of a New York-based agency, and I was telling him, your campaign needs to be as good as Steven Spielberg, as good as Mozart, as good as Picasso, because the people we are dealing with have high expectations. And I will show you in a minute an example where I'm sure that we are not up to the task. And this concerns my 4th hint: don't downgrade your luxury marketing if we are luxury. One aspect, a very modern trend, VIP X brand. Communications are too often a sign of weakness in luxury. Who is the junior, who is the senior partner in such branding corporations? Avoid inflationary VIP repetition. Luxury, again, needs measurable world records, and that concerns also the customer experience. Provide holistic experiences. Artificial limitations are no world records. Make sure that influencers match the brand's sophistication. So here, once again, let me indicate some examples. Now, let's imagine you want to buy a watch and you are interested in the Polaris Always Up with the Times from Jaeger-LeCoultre. This watch sells at 56,000 euros, which is, well, some money, I would say. Okay, some people can afford a trillion of those, but for most of us, well, 50,000 for a watch is some sort of investment. Now, one would expect, speaking about a potential luxury brand, that the way how this watch is presented to us would speak to us. And this is what we find on the page. The red sand of tennis court. Okay. Then we have the blue environment of yachting and boating, though we don't see any blue except for the dress of that person, which I have to admit I don't know. Maybe you know him. I don't know him. And then the same, so we've got tennis, we've got yachting, and we've got racing, all in the same sort of same environment. And then trying to find out who that person is Mr. Nicholas Hoult, who has apparently played in many films. But I'm wondering, what has that to do with Polaris? What has that to do with a perpetual calendar retailing at 50,000? So we've got to be careful if we are in luxury, not to be, well, superficial, not really speaking to the consumer. And continuing the example of Jaeger-LeCoultre, at the same time, if you arrive at Geneva Airport these days, you will see this billboard, which is fine. And interestingly, I'm told that this is Larry Kravitz. So it seems that Jaeger needs to give us a help to explain who this person is. Yet I do indeed know this person because I've seen him already a few years ago at Dom Perignon. So this I don't know, this inflationary VIP thing, I'm not sure whether that's the thing to do if we want to sell 50,000 euros watches. So, and it's a phenomenon of modern times that we have this inflationary growing numbers of testimonials. If we compare these, the number throughout the ages, from the aristocratic age over the industrial age, democratic age, to the digital age, to today's conscious age, luxury seems to need to speak with, needs to introduce many heroes to get the message crossed. Now, I would believe that a luxury brand ideally can stand for itself and don't need all these partners to say that I'm a special brand. Now, part of this downgrading of luxury experience or luxury marketing, and in this context, experience, is this thing about queues in front of boutiques. Here, the example of Chanel, and whether it is winter or summer, the people have to queue up. And recently, I was in Vienna, and it was horrible to see 40, 50 people waiting hours in front of a Hermès or Louis Vuitton boutique. I would not buy there because I don't feel respected. And even if I'm served a glass of water, come on, if I'm supposed to spend 10,000 euros on a bag or a dress in 20 minutes time, I believe I deserve better. A good example, though, have a look at Panerai experiences, fantastic experience for which the customer even has to pay, but they are second to none. And I believe that is a very good example, in this case for prestige brand, of how to create indeed particular experiences that the customer is, again, ready to pay for at prices of above 20,000. So that's quite a spectacular example, which, I think indicates that the customer experience in luxury, or in this case, again, prestige, can be well managed. Define, hint number 5, a realistic business model. I just rushed through this. Balance the size of target groups and business ambition correctly to avoid discounting pressure. And discounting is unfortunately talk of the town, especially during these months with a decreasing demand on the consumer side. I was told at early stages of my professional career that in luxury, prices must not go down, because if prices go up, the customer will always believe it is an investment into the future. Now, if I visit all these online sales shops, then my impression is, well, for sure, in luxury prices can go down, and it's not good. It's not reassuring. Realistic long-term budgets. Do not base management bonuses on revenue alone, because that is pushing sales too much. And in luxury, remember, price is not defining a luxury. It's just captivating the other 3 marketing mix elements, especially product and communications. The world record and the identity we provide. And for this, the customer is ready, willing to pay a certain price. So don't create your luxury brands and believing that if you are the most expensive, you will succeed. So once again, target group selection is the big topic because it will define your revenues, your profitability, your market share. It will be important for defining brand character, financial means, positioning, and it will indicate your risk inclination in defining your long-term business model. Now, in budgeting your future, remember there will always be a next crisis. And I've been in these budget meetings too many times, as a matter of fact. And I recall that I was leaving these meetings with a burden of plus 10%, plus 15%. Although we all know that on an average of 3 to 5 years, there is a major crisis that will make sure that our plans are not realistic. So if we want to avoid overstock, if we want to avoid discounting, then we've got to have realistic business plans and a well-defined target group. Finally, monitor, assess, and adapt to global megatrends as they will impact business, or I can put it differently, the global megatrends of today will be future consumer trends or the trends of tomorrow. ESG in modern luxury is the big disruptor, and even without legal responsibility, brands will own complete value chains. If you're in luxury, yes, you need to look at where your products do come from. You've got to make sure that wherever they do come from in terms of materials, components, that there is a school around it, that the wages are correct, that the work environment is safe, and so on. Authentication and transparency, as you know it, will become legal imperatives. And that is very important to understand. ESG will increase cost. And first estimates say that the same product now streamlined according to ESG requirements will increase the price of the product by 2 or 3 times. So the big questions will be, is the future customer ready to pay for it? Let me just go through this. Second, a big trend is demography. Populations in key markets are shrinking. Options. We speak to elder consumers, we speak to single households, we speak to more targeted segments. And again, be careful about younger luxury consumers. And it is really, believe me, a ticking time bomb. And I do read the positive assessments of BCG and McKinsey about new middle classes in China. That is true, of course it is true. But at the same time, China within 5 years will lose some 100 million inhabitants. So we have one positive trend and one negative trend. And in the summary of things, we won't experience the same growth rates in China as we used to. Impossible. And now we can hope that India finally will solve our problems for the next 20 years. But we are discussing India for a long time also. Finally, innovation is also a major game changer, positively and negatively. You can have a look at it later on. Here again, my advice is don't jump onto every possible innovation. NFTs is a super mean to democratize, to socialize luxury. So if we want to bring down the industry, we make sure that people who cannot afford luxury will be able to afford it because they will purchase NFTs and others. And the same for avatars and so on. And I can tell you, lab-grown diamonds is creating a lot of headache. And while De Beers in 2020 said lab-grown is the big new thing to come, only 4 years later, they're trying to avoid it because there's a learning curve. And the learning curve is that lab grown is bringing down prices of natural stones. So be careful with innovation. Don't jump onto every new moving train. Have a look first. And the reality is we all believe that, yes, luxury will continue, and it will, because the human being is as the human being is. However, there will be winners and losers. And if we look at these categories, at this product categories, well, they're about to get extinct. And then there are endangered species. And that concerns the suits, high-end writing instruments, shaving tools. And then we have question marks, indeed, luxury cars, even timekeepers. So we've got to be very careful to do the right things, because otherwise we risk to lose it everything. So to sum up, luxury in modern times, the offering of measurable world records in product, services, and experience beyond the basic required utility. A particular consumer psychological dimension, especially with regard to identities on an individual and social level. The crucial question, how much social exposure is a brand ready to risk to become the essence of luxury? And finally, luxury means to resist the temptation of omnipresence and brand prostitution. It is the business of exclusiveness. Luxury in modern times implies, in a way, to be less modern, perhaps. And in this regard, I would like to thank you for your attention, and I'm looking forward to answer your questions. Thank you very much for being with me today.